So I'm here with Bob Bickle, and today you're going to be talking about two acronyms, API and AI, right?
They're so closely related, aren't they? It's just a P away.
Artificial intelligence and advanced placement intelligence. What is API?
Application programming interface, Andrew. So we've had an open API since the beginning of RunSignup, and we've had lots of customers, lots of partners, lots of technology partners use that API to basically extend the RunSignup system and to take the information that's in the RunSignup system and use that in other applications. A perfect example is that there's probably over a half a dozen timing scoring software packages out there that basically call our API to get all of the participant information into a timer scoring software so that they can say that you're third in your age group. I don't know if you ever finish that high or not, but but there's countless examples like that. And what it's the past several years, we've tried to improve the API and extend it. We actually put a Zapier wrapper around it so it would be easier for people to use. We have about 800 races, I think, that utilize that Zapier integration. And a lot of them are kind of nonprofits or larger races, larger organizations that want to take the data of, say, a donor or a fundraiser or a participant and move that into their CRM or their donor management system, something like Salesforce or Donor Drive or Blackbot or something like that. And so it's been pretty widely used. What we're really excited about, and this is like one of the reasons why I claim that 2025 is the year of AI, is that AI is going to take that open API to a whole nother level of ease of use and accessibility for customers to use in lots and lots of creative ways. And if you think about RunSignup, there's kind of like a back-end dashboard, and then there's like front-end pages like results pages and things like that. And there's actually API access to get a lot of the information on both sides of those. So say if you're a timer and you want an extra feature or two, or you want something that's more specific to how you want to see things look, you don't like the way our results look or something like that, you can now use AI to develop and deploy an application that calls our API and displays it however you want it to look. The same thing on the back-end dashboard. Say you want a different reporting type of interface or something like that on the back end that only you can see, you can basically put a login in front of this application that will log into RunSignup and give access to just the people that are permitted to, but then have access to the information and display the information however you like. Like maybe you'd like to show how many people registered per day differently than how we show it in our dashboard graphs, and you now have the capability to do that.
So how would you do this, and do we have any examples of projects that have been done like this?
Actually, we do.
That's so weird. It's almost like I have them up on the screen from an email you sent to me.
How about that? So we've been tracking a variety of different AI tools, and probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was listening to a podcast and I stumbled on a tool called v0.dev, and it's from a company called Vercel. And what's interesting about this tool is it's a kind of one of this new generation of AI tools to do software development where you just talk to it and it writes the code, right? But what's interesting about this is it not only writes the code, but it deploys it and makes it available as a web page or a web application so that other people can have access to it and use it. And so that's that kind of makes it a little bit more unique than a lot of the AI tools. Like the AI tools that we use internally for our own internal development are kind of still a little bit too hard for the average citizen to use and for them to figure out how they would actually deploy that application. So that weekend, I actually played with it for an hour, and I did a crummy little find a race application in an hour, and I was totally blown away. And so what we did is I started talking about this internally, And actually, the one that you have up here is one of our co-op students who's here as kind of an intern, William Carr, wrote the application that I had written that past weekend. And he's a little bit more accomplished than I am. He is still in college, and so he still does know how to study and pay attention to things. So he did a find erase application. And I had given him a couple of hints, I do have to say. But in his hour, he developed an even better version of this find erase application. And it just kind of blows me away. So like if you're an average running store and you want to have a web page that shows all the races in your local area, you can actually do that yourself in about an hour, maybe 2 if you don't have all the hints. But if you read our blogs, you'll get enough hints to make it useful. So then a couple of other people started trying it. So Allison wanted to hop on the bandwagon, and she focuses on ticket stuff and on peer-to-peer stuff. And so one of the common requests that we get is that a nonprofit wants to customize how their top fundraiser report looks and stuff like that. So she took V0, and in a couple of hours, she was able to create a top fundraiser page that was totally custom. She spent a little bit of extra time because she's a Taylor Swift fan, and she made the page actually sparkle. And Taylor's tile is actually kind of a little bit of a pink background and highlighted and, labeled Swiftie in the upper right-hand corner and stuff like that. What's cool about this V0 application is you just keep talking to it and start to add more and more features. Like, I want to add sparkles to the cards, and that's literally how you're programming this thing. And you can see how it looks like as you're going back and forth. And it's really quite amazing. What is the other application? Scroll up a little bit here. Oh, this is a really interesting one. So one of our more senior developers, Joel Peterson, he decided to do a little bit more of a deep dive. And he just started diving in a little bit one weekend, and he probably spent a total of 8 hours, ignored his family because he was having so much fun building this application. So his thought pattern was that, okay, there's an escape room, and they want to have a little bit of a dashboard that shows them, who's coming by time and which rooms are booked and when are they booked and things like that. And so he built this application going against our ticket API that actually sees the schedule, figures out who and you can display it differently. So you can display it by room or by team name or by the person that purchased the ticket's name. And you can vary kind of the size of the day calendar and stuff like that. And you can switch days, and it's a really nice little application. Both his application and Will's application also have this toggle to be a light mode and a dark mode. So you can switch it back and forth. And that was just to make both a light and a dark mode was just a simple prompt to the AI tool v0.dev. So now people started getting a little bit fancier and fancier. And we discovered that v0.dev has this capability to not only share like the application, like the web page that you've built, but you can actually share the project itself. So Soren, who works with timers, decided to build a little application that's kind of like a kiosk application for results. And it would allow somebody to go in and type in their name or their bib number, and for like, say, 10 seconds, it would flash their results on the page, and then it refreshes so that the next person in line can look at their results as well. So Soren shared the project with me. And when you share a project, you actually get the whole project. You get all the code in a starting mode. And since I already had V0, I just loaded it up into V0. I clicked on the link and it just loaded it as the project. And then there's this little button called a fork button. And you can click fork, and when you click fork, it actually creates a copy of all that code and now makes it my project. And now I can take Soren's base and I can move it from there. And all I did is I just did like a 5-minute application. So he had it such that the timer logo and the timer message was kind of below the result. And I said, hey, can you put the timer logo and the timer message in the upper right-hand corner? And it did. And so what this means is that RunSignup will be able to start to publish applications, kind of starter applications, and share the project so that customers would be able to take that starting point and then make it their own.
So if I wanted to use Joel's schedule for the escape room, I could just use that and do the fork.
Exactly. Now, we've only put up the results kiosk application so far. Results are a public API, so it's a little bit easier to share something like that. But for the private stuff, we have some development projects that we're doing right now that will make it really easy to develop a v0 application and have login to, say, the Scott Coffee run or something like that. And then you've got access to the data that's part of the Scott Coffee run. The other thing that we're doing is that there are kind of some newer mechanisms to expose your APIs to the AI development tools. And so we're in the process of putting those out as well that will make development even easier and better and faster and so on and so forth. And I only discovered this tool like 3 weeks ago, I think it was. And already we've got like a half a dozen applications have been written by RunSignup people that have just wanted to play. Actually, it's more than that. And then a customer actually sent us their application, their first application. And it's a great application. What it does is it calls the RunSignup API and gets all the registration information, like when's the race and is there a 5K and a 10K and things like that. And it pulls the waiver and it actually creates a PDF printable paper registration form. So 15 years ago when we started the company, the idea was that we were building technology so people wouldn't have to do paper registration. And it's kind of like full circle. It's back to the future. Now there's AI tools that are taking registration systems and making them paper. So Tri-State Timing up in North Jersey actually did this. One of the guys up there did this little application, shared it, and it's available publicly.
So you just put your race ID
Yeah,
in there.
click on the pink button there. So type in 22 or something. Because that's the turkey trot. Is that crazy?
That's pretty cool.
And you see how he has the QR code down there on the bottom, and it's just
Wow.
crazy. It's really amazing what's happening out there.